I'm Dr. Kay Fontana, spiritual grief and energy practitioner and founder of Healing Our Grieving Hearts. For 6 sacred years, I walked beside my husband as his caregiver after his cancer diagnosis until his passing in January 2023. His death, following 40 years of love, was the most profound loss of my life. I faced many kinds of loss, from family members to beloved pets, and through it all, I've come to understand grief not only as sorrow, but as a sacred passage. My mission now is to help you move through the darkest with grace, to honor your own process, and to remind you that healing is possible, even if your heart is broken wide open. You are not alone. This is the Healing Our Grieving Hearts podcast. Today's episode is sensitive and important. We're talking about how to have difficult conversations about death, especially for those of you who are caregivers for a loved one at home. I know these conversations can feel overwhelming. You might wonder, what if I upset them? What if I say the wrong thing? Or maybe you're afraid to face your own emotions. But here's the truth. When we approach these sacred conversations with love, they become invitations, not to fear, but to deep connection, healing, and peace. So let's take a breath together and walk gently into this space. We live in a culture that often avoids talking about death. We push it aside, whisper about it in hushed tones, or wait until it's too late. But when we open the conversation early with love, it becomes a gift of clarity, a gift of support, and a gift of love. As my husband Dave approached the end of his journey, I found myself at a loss for words. There was so much uncertainty. He had his good days and bad days, often followed by hospital stays, but even amidst his many ailments, I never really considered that death was imminent. He would often share dreams about family and friends who had already passed. When I asked him what he thought these dreams meant, he wasn't sure. Yet those conversations often led us to reflect on the possibility that these were messages from the other side, gently calling him toward the next phase of his journey. We had so many meaningful conversations, but looking back, I wish I had gone deeper. There were so many questions I never asked, things I never said, like how much I would miss him if he were gone. Since his cancer was in remission and his other health issues were being managed through medication and regular hospital visits, we never had a definitive prognosis. The end seemed distant, and so I hesitated to bring up those heavy yet necessary conversations. Now I wish I had. His death came as a shock. Just a week before, after a doctor's appointment, he said he hadn't felt that good in years. We even discussed the possibility of taking a vacation, something that we hadn't thought about in ages. But by Sunday, he was in a diabetic coma from which he would not recover. Even his brother, who had been with him just a week earlier, could hardly believe how quickly he had declined. The only explanation I could find was that he was experiencing what's known as terminal lucidity, or rallying. It's when someone who is nearing the end of their life suddenly has a burst of physical or mental clarity just days before they pass, like in his case, right before he slipped into a coma. I share this with you because in the midst of our loved ones' health struggles, death can still catch us by surprise, and we may carry regrets for not having those deep, heartfelt conversations that honor them in a way we never thought to at the time. There's no perfect moment for conversations like this, but there are meaningful moments. Maybe your loved one mentions being tired, or they speak about memories or things they wish they had done. Those are gentle invitations to go deeper. Trust your intuition. If your heart says, now's the time, then honor that nudge. Sometimes simply asking, can we talk about something important to me? Or, I want to make sure I honor your wishes. Can we talk about what's on your heart? Is enough to begin. Before you start, take a moment to prepare the space, physically and emotionally. Choose a quiet time, free of distractions. Maybe hold their hand. Let them feel your calm presence. Begin with love by stating, I love you. I want to support you in whatever feels right for you. Can we talk about what matters most to you? And remember, this isn't about having the perfect words. It's about listening, being present, and letting love lead. When you feel the moment is right, begin gently. Let the conversation feel like a heart-to-heart, not a checklist. Think of yourself as inviting your loved one to co-create a space of meaning and choice. Here are some deeper topics and phrases that might support you. Emotional and spiritual invitations may be, what brings you peace right now? Are there things you still hope to experience or say? Are there things you're afraid of that we could talk through together? What brings you comfort when you feel overwhelmed? Let these questions arise naturally in conversation, not as an interview. End-of-life preference may include, have you thought about what would make you feel most cared for in your final days? Are there prayers, readings, or spiritual practices you'd like to include when the time comes? What does a good death mean to you? This might include where they want to be, whether that's home, surrounded by certain people, the kind of music, lighting, scents, or spiritual atmosphere they prefer, who they want to say goodbye to, whether they like to write letters or create legacy gifts. Practical matters may be, would you like help documenting your wishes so that others can honor them? Have you thought about what kind of care you do or don't want at the end? You don't need to have all the answers, but you can offer help with advance directives or living wills, health care proxies, legacy letters or video messages, planning for meaningful rituals or gatherings. Allow the conversation to unfold over time. If it feels right, write things down together or record voice notes for memory keeping. Affirm that these choices are sacred and empowering. Difficult conversations will stir up emotions for your loved one and for you. That's not a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that something matters deeply. Here are a few things to keep in mind. If your loved one becomes emotional, stay present. Let the tears come. You might say, it's okay to feel everything. I'm here with you. We can pause whenever you need. This doesn't have to be finished today. Sometimes what they need most is to know that you won't run away from their grief or fear. If they resist or avoid the topic, respect their boundaries without shutting the door. You might say, I understand this is hard to talk about. I am here whenever you're ready. I love you and I want to support you in whatever feels right for you. Offer gentle reassurance that you're not pushing, but inviting. If you become emotional, allow yourself to feel. You're human. You're grieving too. You might say, I'm feeling a lot too, and it's okay. We're in this together. Sometimes that shared vulnerability is what makes these moments holy. And if emotions feel too big, pause. Come back to the breath. You can revisit the conversation another day. Remember, love doesn't require perfect words. It requires presence. You are doing sacred work and you deserve spiritual nourishment to sustain you. Here are some practices to support your energy, clarity, and resilience. Pre-conversation centering could include taking a few minutes alone, breathing deeply. Place your hand over your heart and repeat, may I speak with truth and may I listen with love. Invite spirit or whatever name you use for the divine to be present. Journaling prompts may be useful before the conversation and ask yourself, what do I fear most about this conversation? What does my loved one need to feel safe and supported? What's one thing I want them to know, no matter what? Afterward, reflect on what went well, what surprised me, what feelings are still lingering in me. What do I need for my own care and replenishment now? If you're caring for someone you love and facing these difficult conversations, know this: you are not alone. You are love in motion. You are holding sacred space between this world and the next. Maybe your first step today is simply to whisper, "I'm here, I love you." Or maybe you write them a letter or sit in a quiet presence, holding space with your whole heart. Let's close with a gentle breath together and a blessing. May your words be guided by grace. May your heart be a soft lantern of love. And may you remember there is no place where God is not, even here, even now. Thank you for joining me. If this episode speaks to your heart, please share it with someone who needs it. Until next time, may your grief be held in compassion and your heart be held in light. The mission of Healing Our Grieving Hearts is to support women who are navigating life after loss of a spouse or soulmate, and those who are tenderly companioning their husbands through illness. Through grief recovery, energy healing, and spiritual care, I help you find meaning, healing, and renewed purpose. For free resources, including tips on coping with grief and rediscovering joy, visit purpose.healingourgrievinghearts.com. And to connect with me on Facebook, you'll find me at facebook.com/k.fontana. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Healing Our Grieving Hearts podcast. Remember, you are not alone in your grief, and your experiences and emotions are valid. Join me next Saturday at 10 a.m. Arizona time as we continue to explore the human experience and grief and the seasons, how nature reflects our emotions. Until then, be kind to yourself.